Okay, so this is in fact the 25th that we're meeting, Wednesday, June the 25th. We'll call to order. We'll call at 3 o'clock. I don't see anybody here from the public, so we do not have any public comment. We have Charlie's excellent April minutes.
It says on there on the bottom, next meeting in May to be determined later. Should I go in and change that?
Yeah, you can just put in June 25th. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I just say,
Yeah, just-
next meeting, June 25th?
Yep, since it'll be historic by then.
I'll take out the to be determined
Right,
later.
yeah, just say next meeting.
Okay.
All right, perfect. And then we have, other than that, everything looks good. Did you see anything you wanted to change or update or? Yeah, it looks good, Charlie. So,
Okay.
all in favor of accepting?
Right.
All right, so they can be posted, Charlie. All right. So the select board called me up again, and so I'm going back on Monday, the 30th.
Oh, you are gonna go back, I've been talking about that thing that you were
Yeah.
pushing before.
Right. And this time, I got one of the person at the state level who's like our representative, to the state for this program. She's going to join on Zoom at the Board of Selectmen meeting.
And who is that person?
Lisa Sullivan is her name.
Uh-huh.
Lisa Sullivan.
Yeah.
Because they keep asking me questions, and I think I answer them, but they never understand what I'm saying.
Well, let me tell you what the
She's a
comprehensive
state
plan
employee.
has.
Yes, she works for the state. I'm pretty sure it's DOER, but
Listen to this.
Yeah.
This is a comprehensive plan. We are committed to addressing climate change, a global crisis that has direct impacts on the Harwich community, but reducing our carbon footprint through smart growth practices and sustainable development, and taking action to be more resilient to the impacts from climate change
is
along.
this the current, this is one that,
This is late.
that has not been voted on. So the selectmen will say, well, that's not in effect right now.
Because I wanted to give you as an argument to
Yeah.
support this.
Right. I mean,
Because all this is climate leader
right.
business.
Exactly.
When is the meeting?
Monday, the 30th, 6 p.m. If you'd like to come, you're certainly welcome.
Absolutely, I will
Yes.
come.
PM?
The regular select board meeting time. And so
So-
I 100% agree with you, 100%.
But you could bring it up.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they are,
Yeah.
the planning department and the Board of Selectmen have been back and forth with this.
Can you
Yes.
send me that?
Of course,
Yeah.
of course.
It's in the, this is
Well,
the,
I extracted
Right,
from
right,
the
right.
huge document, so
Well,
I'll
can
send
you-
you my,
You need to make a copy of that or something.
yeah.
I can send you a picture right away.
But I think you each have the comprehensive plan. We sent that to you, the whole comprehensive plan, not, you have it somewhere in your
Yeah,
files.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
February or
Yeah,
or
back in
March.
the winter, yeah.
March.
Yeah.
This is
And I 100%
May.
agree. The problem is this particular document has not been accepted yet by either the Board of Selectmen or the town. It will require a vote because it's a town comprehensive plan. They were supposed to vote on it this past spring, but the selectmen wouldn't let it happen because they were not happy with it.
Tell me your email.
LNC
LNC.
CJC.
I have the C. It's not two C's.
Yes, it is.
LNC,
CJC.
another C.
Yep.
This is Linda's initials and my initials.
CJ.
J, Joseph. C, at msn.com.
But what I'm hoping to convey to the Board of Selectmen, keeping in mind, this is a new board. I mean, not 100% new, but we have 2 new people on it, that I feel that many citizens of Harwich support us doing more about climate. I don't think that it would be a hard sell to the citizenry of Harwich. I think they do care. I think this document shows that when the committee that wrote this wrote it, they wrote it because they talked to people,
Of course.
you know, and they
Of
were
course.
gathering information,
Yeah.
and this seemed to the committee, this seemed to be the sentiment that they gathered from the town.
I wonder what are the arguments that the Board of Selectmen has against all this?
Well, they're
I know it's
afraid.
to spend money.
Yeah,
But not really, not really.
yeah, well, they spend it in other
They have
places,
the most
but.
accidents in
Right.
any town. in the
But this
country.
right here would not require, at least initially, does not require money. You know, it's applying for a grant. You don't have to send money with it, you know, it's the state sending somebody to help you do all of that.
Yeah, I mean, I put who, how.
Yeah,
And the consulting firm, I assume,
yeah, they
is
got a lot,
totally
they
in
got
ag-
like 200, the Tyne and.
Tie and bond
Yeah, they got like $250,000 for,
to tell us
How
to
you
do
spell it?
this.
T-I-G-H-E?
yeah, they're right off of.
T-I-G-H-E and B-O-N-D.
Yeah, they're right up in
Not
South
James
Harwich.
Bond, is it?
Well, it's like one hand saying one thing and another hand saying the opposite, contradicting. But maybe, Valerie, now that we have a new
Yeah,
new selectman,
I'm hopeful that the two new people will be more open to this.
Tell them
It's-
that you promised to have a vote on this after the town meeting, and now
Right.
you're gonna put up or shut up.
Right. Well, it's Don Howe. He's the one that's.
he's
he-
against or in favor.
He will tell you that he's for something, but then he will throw roadblocks.
I have noticed that.
And
You
he's
know-
a liaison.
I
Well, I
have-
don't think he is anymore because he's the new chair.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
he has,
Who's the liaison then?
he has a new
They should
hat,
have this
and
meeting.
Yeah.
he is behaving
Oh, you ought
totally,
to ask that
uh,
question, who's my new liaison, since we went down to
Yeah.
maybe they can attend our meetings and help the
Right.
attendance.
Anyway, so the.
Yeah, I have thought of that. I cannot tell you how much I have thought of that.
Yeah.
Well, if you were a liaison, how would you know what the committee was doing unless
You
you
just-
came to the meetings?
You just
Yeah.
read the minutes and that's all they do. You
But
know.
you said that he was sick, that this and that.
Yeah,
And now that he's the chair, he's
Yeah.
full of energy.
Yeah, but anyway, so I'm hoping that we can clarify any lingering
Mm-hmm.
issues that the board has,
Mm-hmm.
that Lisa,
Mm-hmm.
because this is her job, she can answer with authority any of their questions, you know, about the process.
That's another. You could bring that as a contradiction, because on the one hand, we accept to be a green community and to commit ourselves to do a
Right.
number of things,
Yeah.
and then we have the Board of Selectmen against it.
Right, well, they're against taking it in others. They're not against it. If it hadn't have been for, who's the guy that,
Alaska?
if it hadn't been for him, they would have voted on last time.
Yeah, he changed the mood.
Right, he changed the mood, and he's gone now, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, so pray for us. We are going to give it another shot. I hope by bringing Lisa in on it, you know, a new face, a new, you know, they're tired of listening to
And
me.
what about bringing this woman, Laura, this thing, Laura Zelmer? Why not bring her also?
Well,
Green community.
that'll be for another time, I think. But the part of applying to become a climate leader would require to meet with Laura, because Laura keeps all the data, you know. And so part of, if you wanted to become a climate leader, part of the application is you've got to submit your, I forget how many years, but past things that you have done and your reports and things.
Another thought, what about inviting Sean Libby, that he can bring up some of the specifics that he has been able to implement, due to the fact that we are a green community and the benefit that this climate leader could
Right.
signify
Oh.
for us.
I think Monday's coming up quick. I'm going to be away for the weekend. So I'm not going to be around to email or talk to people or anything like that. So I think for Monday, I'll have Lisa there. I'm not going to ask them to do anything new. This is going to be exactly what
Revisiting.
we said it before. Nothing has changed. They said they'd look at it after the town meeting.
They did.
Here we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And see what
Take it from
happens.
there.
Yeah. Now, if we go forward and they do apply for the grant to get the roadmap assistance, then absolutely, I would like us to be as helpful as we can. You know, but the thing that about this particular program, just like Green Communities, it's a municipal program, which means it needs to be, you need department heads, you need, the Board of Selectmen, those are the people that have the authority to fill out the application, to answer the questions. And so the one thing that they have to commit to is the time that it would take to do this. If they apply for the grant and they get help from the state to create their plan, which that's really what the roadmap means, their plan, sort of that thing right there, it will require staff time because we don't have a staff person to do this, right? So they would have to have like Sean Libby and the assistant administrator and, people like that would have to take the time to meet with this person and get the data.
I think the fact that Powers is living might play in favor of us because there will be less animosity, less resistance.
Right, but also they might throw it back at us, well, we don't have a town administrator, so we can't do any of this stuff. Yeah,
But you can minimize it.
yeah. But anyway, so I'm hoping.
Could they pay us to do it?
I would rather they hire somebody, a real make that commitment and.
Where does the plan of having this person that was going to stay at Pam
That fell
Latimer's
through, the town didn't want to do it. Yeah,
died?
yeah, it died. But, but that was only one of many programs that are out there and.
Yeah, but it was, I
it was.
thought it might work out
Right,
and
right.
we would have that person.
Yeah,
and-
but anyway.
Okay, well,
So we will do the best we can, and we will present it, and we will hope that they will move forward with it. So I think you sent this question in, is there an energy inventory of town buildings? And I think that Laura,
that's also here.
yeah, and I think as far as what we report to the green communities, I mean, we are keeping track of that. I
But
don't.
You say we. It's
The
not
town,
we.
the town.
It's Laura.
It's Laura
Yeah.
with Sean Libby.
Okay.
He's sort of he is our town. Sean and Laura run the Green Communities
Okay.
program. Sean being the
Yeah.
town representative and
Of
Laura
course.
being,
What's Laura's last name?
Selmer,
Selmer.
Selmer,
S-E-L.
M-E-R.
Is she
Isn't
a
it
town employee?
Zelmer? I'm not sure.
She's not a town employee, is she?
She's
No, Cape Light Compact.
Okay,
Compact.
take her. How do you spell Sean's last name?
Libby, L-I-B-B-Y.
No, it's Selmer, S-E-L-M-E-R.
Oh, S.
S-E-L.
M-E-R.
Selmer.
So- Anyway, so we will continue to work on that. As far as an energy inventory of town buildings, I personally don't know if there's like a document that specifically addresses that issue.
Sean would know.
But I think that the data is in there somewhere,
of
so.
Somebody ought to be keeping like Excel spreadsheet, and
They do.
This is the date, this
Yeah.
is the building, and this is the energy usage this month, and then this year,
Yeah.
and this year, and you go down.
Well,
and it
a
should be
lot of
full.
that, is
so.
part of the green communities, and that exists, but not in a public format. The town has those, I mean, the green communities reporting has that. But it's not something that the town, like, puts in a town report or a, you know what I'm saying? It's in-house use. So the good news is that we do report to green communities, and we do keep track of that. We haven't done a lot recently, but this year, in 2025, there was a project that we did with green communities for,
Yeah, I
I
remember
want to say the community center.
$250,000
Yeah,
came in.
yeah, I think
for
it was
our-
community centers.
When I was down in Longbow Key for 10 or 15 years, and they wanted to have a representative for the Metropolitan Planning Organization, they put a big ad in the Longbow Observer, and I responded to it, and I got the job for, I was 10 years on the MPO, representing Longbow Key. And maybe what they need to do is they need to put an ad in the Chronicle and say we need volunteers for these kind of committees. And
They've done that. They have not, I don't think within the last couple of months, but the town has advertised before and they've listed like the committees that need people, and it just doesn't happen.
Well, if they don't advertise, nobody's gonna know. It's just like, you know, there's a water rationing in effect in Harwich. And I follow it because I'm a fool that follows a few rules. My neighbors don't. I'm not a policeman. I'm not gonna go around and tell them I'm the only one following the rules here and watering because my house is even on Wednesday and Sunday, and everybody else in the street doesn't pay any attention to it. But if they only put it in the Chronicle, one little ad like this, and then forget about it, they don't put it up on signs all over the streets like they do in Chatham. Nobody, the rest of the community plays dumb. They don't know anything about it.
And
Well-
there's something worse than what you're saying. If you drive at 6 o'clock in the morning, you see how many people are watering the pavement. Their irrigation systems are not taken care properly, so that you water the garden, the lawn, or whatever.
Right. You have to adjust the heads on those sprinklers so they point in the right
I see
direction.
that all
I
over.
have a whole bunch of all new heads. There's some that didn't want to spray under my shed, my porch, and they make it arc just like this going out.
Yep.
And they only go in that little arc like that. They won't go all the way around like
Right,
that.
right.
You
Yeah, I
can
mean,
get
there's
heads
ways
like
to
that.
do it. There's ways to do it economically. Like I have a big perennial garden and a big vegetable garden, but I have drip irrigation in all. We don't spray that.
But my point
Yeah,
is,
I know.
they need to advertise,
Right.
whether it's for members, whether it's what the water restrictions are, or for volunteers for these different committees. Because otherwise, we're gonna be just three of us talking to ourselves for
Well,
the next 2 years.
right, and to
That would be the case.
yeah, I've been here longer than that. To be honest,
I joined in 2015. I joined the sewer committee,
Right.
and I was kicked off after one meeting because some woman said, "Why is this guy have been appointed, not me? I've been involved in all these meetings." And they threw out the entire committee and they reformed it.
wow.
And
I was went to one
volunteers?
meeting. Huh? Yeah. They
Volunteers?
were all volunteers. They threw them all out. Because this one woman objected to me being on it because I was new to the neighborhood and I thought that was an important thing to be on.
And to be honest, Glenn didn't submit his official resignation till today.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna put in the notes, is that
yeah,
okay?
yeah. But I will.
You need to
We will
send them
definitely.
No, to say that Glenn Minnick has resigned as a
Right.
committee member, we're
Right.
down to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
No, absolutely. That should go in the
Should I-
minutes. Yeah.
Who should I put down for liaison?
We don't have one yet. We'll find out.
Okay.
Hopefully someone who will care. Because up to now it's
Yeah.
hopeless.
I'm going to approach Katie McManus. She only lost the election by 50 votes.
Really?
50 votes. So she came very close, considering she's young and she had never run before,
And
and
that nobody knew her.
right, so I thought that was a good showing for your first time out.
I voted for her.
I voted
I
for her.
voted for her.
So I'm
There
gonna,
we are.
I'm gonna contact her and see if she'd be interested in being on our committee.
That's terrific
Because I
idea.
told her, I said, you know, not to feel bad, very few people win their first election, right? I mean, this is something you
I sent her an email. I
Yeah.
told her
Yeah.
there's the next time.
yeah. And in order to keep building your creds,
Mm.
get on some town committees, you know, start working in the town and
That's
get, go, you
oh,
know,
It
so.
would be fantastic to get her.
Yeah, so I'll contact her and see if she'd be even interested in helping us out here. And then the interesting thing about when you invite somebody like that, she's got friends,
Yeah,
you know, and if she has friends in Harwich,
yeah,
most likely her age,
yeah.
you know, it'd be great to get some young
Oh, my
people
goodness,
that
it'd be
have
all good.
that have the energy, you know, to do all and and care, like you said, you got to care about it,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
It's and you're right. Most, in my experience, our select board has always been very fiscally conservative. You know, their goal is to keep taxes down, which is not a bad thing. You know, we
Well,
don't want
I
to.
love it because
you
I
know.
don't like my tax. But now that we could keep Megan
Right.
as the town administrator, no, the select board wants to hire a
Some guy.
250,000 guy
Yeah.
out of town
Right.
instead of keeping it
Somebody who
At
actually
home.
knows what's happening.
right.
Yeah. So the point being is that at some point, you know, you have to balance the cost of something with the benefits of doing something, and of course you want to do it in the most economical, fiscally responsible way that you possibly can. And I think they look at some of the recommendations for like the climate leader, and they just see dollar signs. You know, you have to buy electric vehicles, and everybody knows those are too expensive to buy electric vehicles. And you know, and
I know a guy that lives up near those
Yeah.
charging stations that are under the, at the park and ride. He lives about 2 blocks away, and he takes his EV vehicle up there. I think he said it's for free. His name is Bill Crocker.
Yeah.
He lives 2 blocks away. He says, I get a free charge. I don't pay anything for gas or
Right.
electric. He
it's
says,
good for him. But the point being is that we have to help the selectmen believe that the town would support them, you know, on moving forward.
More than support, man. We want to do the right thing
Right.
at the right time.
Right.
Come on, not be late.
So anyway,
And other towns are way ahead of us.
oh yeah, light years ahead of us. You know, it's so funny to talk to people from Eastham. I mean, they're doing so much.
Yeah.
But anyway, solar panels on town land. Right now, CVEC is not doing much, right? So the way we got solar panels before was through CVEC and them managing the projects. They're struggling
With
Right.
what?
to be in existence, you know, so they're not taking
They
on.
dependent on grants?
Yes, they are, but they also, yes, they're not being able to.
It's
They
a
don't have.
money
They don't
issue.
have enough people. You know, they don't have enough staff.
Money?
You know, they have to keep. You know, they have to get the grants. It's anyway. They're struggling, so we can't really depend on that vehicle for getting new solar panels, at least in the short term. Maybe they'll bounce back and do it again.
Well,
So-
Mark Kelleher told me about this,
Mhm.
that we should look into it.
Yep, and so one of the things that this roadmap would do is it would
Is
say, hey, do we want more solar panels in Harwich? Yes, we do. Okay, here's how we're going to get them.
Well, maybe you
know.
could mention it on Monday.
Yep,
you know?
yep. So the research, we'd have to research, you know, where could we put them?
He told me it's behind there in the, where the dump is.
Well, we already, that is a spot that when we became a green community, we had to set
They
aside
have to
land.
cut down trees, and people don't like that.
Right.
If they put them in that schoolhouse parking lot, like I suggested, they got it all made, all they gotta do, they can almost provide them free with the
Yeah.
solar collectors in
But
town.
I
But anyway,
understand.
so that would be, those types of discussions would be what the
The
state
roadmap.
person would help us talk about, right? They would say, because the state person is not going to tell us what to do. They're going to say, what do you want to do? Like, what does Harwich want to accomplish in the next, between now and 2050? Because that's kind of their frame, their time frame. Because they want to be net zero by 2050, so they're going to ask towns, so what do you want to do first? So what's the highest priority for the town of Harwich? Is it EV vehicles? Or is it more solar panels? Or, pick something.
Or maybe put them right out in this parking lot right here, the
Right,
solar
yeah.
panels with the cover for the,
And then, once you decide that that's a priority, then it's like, how do you pay for it? And then, you've got to look at what's available, what can the state do? You can forget federal for the next 3 years. So you're kind of on your own with that, and so how are you going to go about, you may even have to pay for some of it yourself, and that would be a dollars and cents consideration, how much would the town be willing to raise taxes to do something like that, so, but that's all what this roadmap is supposed to be about. The town sits down, picks priorities, and figures out how you're going to get from what you want to the end. And in the end, by the time we get to 2050, we will, in theory, be producing substantially less carbon in the town. Keeping in mind that once you qualify for climate leader, remember, you have up to $1 million in grant money that you can
I
tap
remember.
into. So,
I remember.
so if we decide that a solar canopy somewhere is a good idea, then we could tap into some of this money to help make that happen. It wouldn't cover the whole thing, but
especially if you get days like these last few days
Oh, my
here
God.
that are
God,
hotter than they ever been on record, and then you get every single day in the news, you get a storm that's the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
If people don't see the writing on the wall, they got their head in the sand like our president or something.
anyway, but let's hope for the roadmap. Let's hope that, something like more solar panels or canopies, hopefully that would be a priority. We could stick them, I like to see them everywhere. I love these canopies because in the summer, that gives you shade. So when you come back to your car after you've been in the store, it's not like 150 degrees in there. And in the wintertime, you're in the store and it starts to snow.
Yeah.
You're not out there with your shovel trying to get home,
Yeah.
because you would think a community of old people would love it.
All they gotta do is make them sturdy enough so when the hurricanes come.
Right, they don't blow away,
They
yeah.
don't blow a lot down. That's what they gotta do.
Yeah.
All right, Cape Light Compact update. Maggie is retiring at the
Sometime soon.
2026, the beginning of the next fiscal year, which would be like in June of 2026.
Okay.
All right, she's done. She's retiring. She's not quitting. She's literally retiring. Because she's done this for like 30 years. We are in the process of getting a new executive director, for Cape Light Compact, the board at Cape Light Compact, which is comprised of representatives from each of the towns. And then last week, the chair of our board quit. So put a little wrinkle in the whole process. So we have another meeting in July, and so we'll appoint a new chair and hopefully move on from there. So other than that, not much
It's good that
new.
she gave you notice and all that. Some people, like in the town here, have been just quitting with short notice in this meeting. So you got time hire somebody.
Oh, right. And it's a very specialized position, like Maggie's position. When she took it, she was a county employee. She worked for the Barnstable County. And Barnstable County was the initial overseer of Cape Light Compact. So for many years, she was paid by the county. And then, you know, we morphed into our own organization and we separated from the county, and so it's a standalone organization now. And so a lot of the things that she knows, she grew into. And because Cape Light Compact was the very first aggregator in Massachusetts, it's like she wrote the book, you know. I mean, there were no other aggregators in Massachusetts when Cape Light Compact was formed, and so it's going to be hard to replace her. You know, she's been really good for the. You know, but anyway, so we're going to.
And what is the role of that chairman that quit?
Oh,
How critical is that position?
It's a pretty critical position because the chairman of the Cape Light Compact board works pretty closely with the executive director, Maggie.
Okay.
You know, because even though Maggie's the executive director, she cannot do things unilaterally. She has to bring most things back to the board to vote on, and every town has a vote. Because technically, Cape Light Compact is the town's. If you look at any of our stationery, it says Cape Light Compact, and then it has all the towns listed. You know, so technically it is the towns that are Cape Light Compact. She is just the paid director. You know, so yes, the chairman of the board, it's a pretty important position. And it's paid. I mean, it's pretty, I forget what, we haven't set a salary yet, but you know, she pretty well paid position. So anyway.
And Kate, what is the relationship between Cape Light Compact and Eversource?
We are all providers of electricity, not producers of electricity. That's something like a NextEra.
Provide means provide.
Right. We don't make the electricity. We
But
just
I
sell
make
it to you.
electricity
You do.
with my
but-
solar panels.
Right. But Eversource does not. Cape Light Compact does not make electricity. Eversource does not make electricity.
Okay.
We are the people that, like Cape Light Compact goes out and puts out bids, and they say, Cape Light Compact will say, we have X number of customers who consume X number of kilowatt hours per year. What can you do for us? Like, what's the lowest you can give us per kilowatt hour of electricity? And then the companies that actually make electricity, the people who own the hydroelectric dams or the nuclear plants or the gas-powered.
Or Enphase, to whom I sell my extra solar.
Right.
Solar,
Yeah, but
kilowatt
they're
hours.
a broker. Enphase is a broker.
Oh, okay.
They broker in solar energy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing. We're talking about,
Okay.
like,
I get it.
yeah. And so you can buy your well, not you. You're not a very good example because you make your own. But you can buy your electricity from Cape Light Compact, or you can buy your electricity from Eversource. Neither one of them is making that electricity. They
That's
went
right.
out to bid and they got contracts and now they're selling, you know. Cape Light Compact has done very well, you know. For the last couple of years, we've always been less than Eversource per kilowatt hour. But currently, it's not the cost of electricity that's killing people.
It's delivery.
It's the delivery.
I know. And it never stops. And it will continue.
Oh, yeah. Because somebody has to maintain the wires, somebody has to maintain the poles, somebody has to maintain the substations, somebody has to maintain the high voltage wires that go.
I don't believe that. I think it's greed.
Well, who's-
Total greed.
but somebody has to maintain those things.
Yeah, true.
And it
but
costs money to do that.
If you call Eversource, you have to wait 45 minutes to get someone to help you.
Yeah. The point being is they are allowed to recoup the cost of all of that infrastructure.
Yeah, that should stop. Because
But
The sky is the limit.
Yeah, sky's the limit right now. The state is looking at it.
Okay.
They're looking at, how those rates are, because the Department of Energy, DOER, Department of Energy Resources, they're like you have everything you do, either Cape Light Compact or Eversource, it doesn't matter. It has to be approved by the DOER. Right.
Yeah.
And so every year, you have to say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're charging, this is, blah, blah, blah. And if you want to raise your rates, you've got to go before the DOER and state your case, this is why we want to raise it. And DOER is getting kind of fed up with the delivery charges as well. And so you might see
It's abusive.
you might see some action on that, because it's really, you can be the most energy efficient as possible, but you're never going to escape those delivery charges, so.
Your costs offset the delivery, don't you? You don't pay the delivery, do you?
Yes, I do.
You still have to, but I mean, don't your energy costs offset them? Or you only offset?
Well, I don't pay anything, but the delivery amount is there.
I know,
I-
but your energy producing offsets them, right?
Yeah,
So the net is zero to you.
yes.
Okay.
But you can still see what it would be.
Absolutely, I
Yeah.
see it, that's why I'm talking the way I'm talking.
Right. So anyway,
You really want to have a plus in your account each time, you don't
Well, I
want.
want that plus to go to my son,
Oh,
not to throw it
Right.
out,
yeah. But anyway, so, I mean, that's, there have been, you're not the only one that noticed that. And there have been some movement at DOER to look into it, to see, because remember what
The only way that would happen is if the state nationalized it and took over operating it, then they
Yeah,
could
but-
control the cost.
Right, because it's they deregulated electricity a long time ago, and it's a private company, and they have shareholders, and if you want to have a good,
They are shareholders, bottom line.
well, I tell you, they have about a 10% return on investment.
Yeah.
So a lot of people
Can
like
you imagine? That's
Eversource.
terrific.
So a lot of people
Want that.
Want that.
Of course, of course.
So anyway, the town also gets their electricity through Cape Light Compact, but it's on a different schedule. They go to bid separate. The municipal load and the domestic load, residential load, are bid separately. So it's two contracts.
So we don't produce enough electric power from like the dump to take care of all the town needs?
We
I thought
we don't.
We did.
No, we don't make a lot. We make a lot of money off of it because of the RECs, but we don't. It's not enough to run the whole town.
Well, maybe that would be a reason for putting a big canopy out here in the parking lot here and maybe more solar collectors right here. Nobody object to if they put a parking lot with canopies right out here.
Well, I mean, and that's the whole point of the roadmap. Is just we would say, well, how much electricity do we use? How much do we produce? How could we fill the gap? What would make us energy efficient? And somebody would say, well, why don't we put up more solar panels? Or somebody might say, well, why don't we convert everything to heat pumps? And, we'd have that discussion as to, what would be the best way forward to do that.
Mhm.
And another thing that everybody has to keep in mind, and I think you alluded to it earlier, is that when Cape Light Compact formed, it was all about cheap electricity. And that was really the whole point of Cape Light Compact, was to get cheaper electricity. But everybody in the energy world has had to shift their thought to decarbonization. And what people are having a hard time wrapping their head around is decarbonization does not always mean saving money.
Of course.
And,
Heat pumps.
yeah, so it's getting people to kind of consider saving carbon as valuable as saving money.
Yeah.
So that they'd be willing to do that. So
It's like owning an EV. People resist because it's so expensive, but it's
Yeah.
the only way.
yeah, so that's some of the roadblocks that I have encountered. Is when you're trying to get people on board, with some of these things. And I get it. We're all, most of us are on fixed incomes now. We have, and nobody wants to pay more taxes, but most of the time, people don't want to pay more taxes if they don't think that money is doing a good job. Most people are fine with increases in taxes if they really believe in what the money is doing. And that's the key right there, is to get the people to believe that they're doing good with their taxes.
Yes.
So, and I get that all the time at the park. A lot of people will come up to me at a national park and they say, I hate paying taxes, but I'm glad we have national parks. That is until Trump sells them all, but whatever. Anyway, so that's Cape Lake Compact. I'll keep you posted. And that's all I have.
You know, we had a kind of difficulty, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but didn't, a couple of years ago, we canceled the meetings for the summertime? Maybe, I mean, we're down to 3 people. Maybe you need one more meeting to report after the results of this meeting,
Right.
but
Oh,
maybe you ought to think about,
Yep.
I mean, maybe we take a vacation during the summer, waiting for more people to come on board, or letting you do your work properly. Just a
Yep,
suggestion.
yep. Oh, we've done it before. We've done it before.
I know, I don't know, what you know, if it's a big hassle for you, and
Yeah.
That's only one-
Right now, since
well,
we're working.
you know,
Well-
just think about that,
Right.
okay?
But while we're here, so we'll attempt a meeting in July, because I think we need to talk about what happens on the 30th.
Right,
So
okay.
I agree with you that, let's take August off.
Yeah.
No meeting in August. Everybody's got summer stuff going on.
Yeah.
And then we'll reconvene back in September.
That meeting in July, do you want to, I'm going to be away for 4 days in July.
Okay, so let's not do it when you're away.
It's about 4 weeks from
All right.
today. I think I'm okay on is today Wednesday? I'm okay on the Wednesday, but I'm not okay on the 4 days previous to today.
Okay, so what
I don't have
what
a-
Tuesday would you be available?
Well, a week before, it would be 3 weeks away, I'd be available.
So you, like the 22nd of July. I'll tell you what, why don't you guys go home, look at your calendars.
And see if the 22nd is
Yeah, and see
okay?
if the 22nd will work,
All right.
Okay.
all right?
Very well.
And then you can just email, if it does, then we'll just go ahead with it.
Okay.
I think that's 4 weeks from now, isn't it?
Yep, pretty much.
Well, that's not gonna work. It's gotta be either the week after or the week before.
Okay, how about the 15th?
The 15th will work.
Okay, let's do the 15th.
I can't.
You can't. Can you do the, can you?
I'm driving to Logan, so.
Ooh. Let me just look at something here.
What's the last day in July? Is it 27th?
29th would be the last Tuesday.
Why don't we try the 29th?
Let me just check. Nope.
That's no good?
No guy, I have to take mom to a doctor's appointment.
Well, then, we either go to August or we go before the 15th.
Okay, how about, let me check this. Let me check. Whoops. Okay. How about Wednesday the 9th?
All right.
Does that work for Wednesday, July 9th?
I don't remember by heart, I would have to check.
Okay, why don't you check at your,
Tentatively for,
tentatively Wednesday, July 9th. Why don't you just check your calendar and let us know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I commit myself and then I get in
I
trouble.
know. That's why I keep mine with me at all times.
well, I don't have mine on my phone. I have to fake ignorance that way.
Yeah, I like paper, not phone.
I mean, yes, I have a calendar at home, that's where we
Right.
write all of our stuff.
Right.
I don't write Linda's appointments, because a lot of Linda's appointments are the same thing that I do, like, I got this CPAP now, that I gotta stick on my face because I had sleep apnea. So we had to drive to Sandwich to go to this demonstration of how the heck to put this crap on my face, and that's a whole problem. But, you know, I've had this 17 times per hour that I was stopping my breathing, and I got it down to 1.7 the last night with putting on this mask trap and pressurized
And
thing.
can you sleep?
Well, you get used to it, believe it or not, but you get much sounder sleep and you're much more awake. You're not falling asleep during the day or anything like that.
They have that Inspire thing too.
Well, that thing there puts a wire from your heart up to your tongue, and the guy says, you don't want to ever get involved with that. They don't tell you the details of that. So it's better to put all this crap on your head.
My sister has CPAP, and you look at it and think, oh my God, how could you possibly? But she says once you get used to it, she said it's really made a big difference.
I was first doing the thing where I keep
Isn't
my
that
mouth shut,
something?
so I
Yeah.
have the special piece of mouth tape. You tape it over your mouth so you can't open your mouth. And I'm trying to talk to her, tell her I love her, I can't talk until the morning.
What is he
So
doing?
now I have to put a chin strap on that goes over the top of my head like this to keep my mouth shut all during the night.
Meeting adjourned at 3:45.
Sorry for laughing, Charlie, but it's funny.